masters of speed. This is Formula One.
Welcome, it's Qatar, it's the Lusail International Circuit, it's 5 laps, setups at the end, you know the drill by now. We're driving as Lewis Hamilton, I think, starting P3, let's go. So there's a sail circuit then. It's a tricky one, 5 red lights, let's go. It's a very tricky circuit because there are just so many corners, high speed, low speed. And the track limits around here are absolutely unreal. And I mean that, they really are. You touch a curb around here and it seems to give you pretty much instant penalties as well at some places. Especially coming out of that hairpin, if you run wide. This is a really tricky corner to get right. It's a low speed corner into a high speed corner. It's nuts, and the variety of corners is unreal. It really is unreal, and this is why you need the high downforce, I think, more than anything, because you will not get the maximum out of the car if you don't run high downforce. Which is strange because you'd think that it would be quite a low downforce circuit, but you need to run Bahrain kind of wings, because trust me, I tried very, very hard to get this to become a low wing circuit, but I just couldn't get the maximum out of the car. I really couldn't. Right, it's time to drop these guys.
Yes, that's done it. P1.
Cheers, Mark. Thank you very much. But I do really love this circuit. I don't know why. As I've gone deep. I really love this circuit. It's really, really good. Like, just to throw the car in and just hope it sticks. You know, the mixture of high speed, low speed, hoping that the car sticks, hoping that it doesn't spin. I did a social race around here when the game first came out, but unfortunately with all the force feedback issues from the game itself, I think I managed to get I got about 8 laps in, and my wheel decided, nah, I'd had enough of that, and it just full on shut off and disconnected, and I just went straight on into a wall because I couldn't get it restarted in time, which was kind of frustrating.
We can now use DRS now available.
Right, let's try and better that fastest lap, because that was a bit poor. It was very poor, in fact. Well, I've got the battery, so let's do it. Into the hairpin. It might help if I stop messing up this turn all the time. The hairpin turn, I mean. Like I said, this is a very tricky corner to get right. But when you get it right, let's have a look at the tyres. You see temperatures are nice. It's another high speed section. Car just sticks, which is really good. Again, with the runoff there as well, if you touch it, it will give you a penalty. Use on my battery, 23.1. I'm happy with that. Obviously the car's in race trim. In quali trim, you can probably take about 1.8 to 2 seconds off your fastest lap. As I've gone wide. When you're on soft tyres, I mean, obviously, if you're running the hard compound on the medium compound, you want to take off more again. But because this is 5 laps, it kind of gives you a good indication of what time you can actually get if you were to obviously run qualified. I don't, because I just do it to show you guys how the setup works, how the setup handles, and then put the setup at the end of the video. Because I practice what I preach. And like I said, the reason why I do these setups is because I remember when I first started, I was using TT setups, and I was finding that whilst the TT setups were extremely quick over 1 lap, it took me a while to understand why I was spinning out in the races, why the car never felt great on harder compound tyres or medium compound tyres. I would always seem to, well, just generally burn through tyres. No matter what I did, I couldn't save them. And you come to the realisation that it was all down to setup. So then that's when I decided to learn setups. But prior to learning setups, no one, absolutely no one, wanted to help. Everybody is, you know, the internet is full of videos that people have gone and done their fastest lap in time trial, and they post their setup at the end, and people think, oh yeah, great, let's go and use that for a race. And it doesn't work. It never works. Especially when you were running no assists. I mean, if you chuck a TT setup on when you run full traction, ABS, you know, driving the steering assist, automatic gears, well then you're going to be sat there thinking, what am I talking about? But trust me, you turn all them assists off and see how long a TT setup lasts. I'll give you 6-7 laps before you spin, or your tyres are dead. But this has been Qatar. The setup is next.
And under the desert night sky, they win the Qatar Grand Prix. And what a performance it was. Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them is losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take the top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes. Well, after an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
Often my go-to would be a driver who's managed to pull off an especially impressive feat during the race. However, in this instance, I was more impressed by Max Verstappen's solid, clean driving throughout the event.
Well, what an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
The Qatar circuit then. So, this is what I've gone with. Qatar technically is not a high downforce circuit, but in order to get the maximum and the most out of the car, you need pretty high wings, to be fair. They're above half. I've tried, obviously, running the lower setups. Lower wing setups on this game does not seem to work, and it's kind of frustrating because I used to love a low wing setup. Anyway, 35 on the front, 32 on the rear, and that's what I've gone with. It seems to really complement the car well. You could go lower if you wanted, but what I found is you tend to get chronic understeer from obviously running up wide and whatnot. And there are a few, the hairpins one, I think there's another turn in sector 2 is another, which if you ain't careful you can easily run wide, and track limits around here seem to be bad. They really do. They seem to be like Monza style bad, where you just touch the white line, and obviously technically it is over, but you know, they are really bad. On the transmission, going with 55 on, 53 off. It seems to work really well, as because there's so many high-speed corners, rather than braking, you want to be just letting off the throttle and just letting the car do its thing into the corners. On the suspension geometry, right, left. Seems to work really well. Yeah, you can tinkle around with the toe in, toe out if you want. It's only going to increase your tyre temperature and tyre wear, but as you can see, excessive amounts of camber can have a negative effect on tyre wear. And with the tyres being so... what's the word I'm looking for? With the tyres, this game being so dramatic, I will use the word dramatic because the temperatures can spike and it seems to take forever to cool them down. I would highly recommend running zero toe in, toe out. Suspension. Took me a while to get this right. Just simply because of the amount of corners there are. It's quite a weird circuit. This is the sales circuit. It's a really good circuit, don't get me wrong, but it is quite a weird one. And it took me a while to get the car sort of in the window where I like it to be. Obviously, this is a setup I'm sharing with you. You might drive differently to me, so you need to play around with this setup for yourself to get it quite right. But I've gone with 32 front suspension, 12 rear suspension. I've gone for a stiffer rear end of the car and a not so stiff front end. So I've gone with 7 on the front anti-roll bar, 12 on the rear. It really seems to help, especially with those really tight turns. There are quite a lot, like I said, there are quite a lot of high-speed corners as well, where rather than braking, you just want to be letting off the throttle and letting the car naturally slow itself down. But it seems to work. It seems to work really well, to be fair. Right, I can't think of one curb that is high around here. Maybe the yellow sausage curbs on the last corner on the right hand side. You don't want to be running over them, obviously, but apart from that, it's quite a low ride height. I wouldn't recommend going anymore, because down the main straight you do hear the car bottoming out, and if you don't believe me, go back and check the 5 lappers that I did previous and you would hear it 100%. Onto the brakes. Again, this only applies to those who use ABS off. 100%, 58%. The reason why I've gone with 58%, there are some heavy braking zones. They're into the last turn, into the hairpin. That's about it, really. But I was finding that my car was locking up. Obviously, that's me being too overly aggressive on the braking pedal. Locking the rears, car rotates. You don't want that. You lose a lot. Plus, your tyres overheat as well. Onto the tyres. Because there are so many turns around this corner, the saving grace you have is that Qatar is a night race. Because if it was a day race, I think it would be like a 6-stopper race, to be fair, because the tyres would just overheat that bad. But it is pretty much a low pressure circuit, simply because of the amount of corners. And you go back, have a look at the temperatures. They go up and down like the rise and fall of the sea. They really do. They really are bad. But I've gone with 22.3 on the right, 20.2 on the left, 20.3 on the right rear, and then 20.2 on the left. Reason why the right side is higher than the left side is because it tends to be a left tyre dominated circuit. Hope this helps. Let me know what you think about it down in the comments below. As I said, if it doesn't work for you, because obviously we all drive different and setups are unique to individuals. Some might like a more pointed car, some might like understeer, some might like oversteer. And again, the list goes on, the list is endless. Let me know in the comments and we'll try and get a workaround. Thank you to all those who subscribe. Really appreciate you, and cannot state enough how much it really makes me happy. But if you want to subscribe, do all that good stuff, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. share it. Share this setup. At the end of the day, they're for everybody to use, and I hope everybody gets as much use out of it as possible. But I'll see you in the next one, guys. Take care. Peace.